the host of PBS's The Tavis Smiley Show, the eponymous Tavis Smiley. Tavis, how do you think Howard Dean is DNC chair? You want to endorse him for that right here, right now?
I don't endorse people, but he can't do much worse. I like Howard Dean. He's a great guy. Democrats need help. And one thing I do respect about Howard Dean is that he has said consistently, to his credit, that Democrats need a 50-state strategy. And clearly, what we're seeing this time around is that whatever strategy they thought they had for all 50 states didn't quite work. So if he advances or engages this notion of his 50-state strategy, then again, I think Democrats can do much worse than they did this time around.
So, Tavis, you're a Democrat. You're not a doctrinaire Democrat, but you're a Democrat, right?
I've never said that publicly, but I certainly did not vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah. So when you made the point that the Democratic Party did pretty poorly, what do you think Democrats have to do now in the face of a Washington that's dominated not just by Donald Trump at the White House, but by Senate majorities and the Senate majority of Republicans, House majority, full Washington controlled by Republicans right now?
Number one, Democrats need to accept the fact that Donald Trump is our president. These protests I'm heartened by because on Tuesday, racism and sexism and classism and militarism won as surely as Donald Trump did. So I'm heartened by these protests in the streets for people who don't want to accept that particular narrative for what we want this country to become, number one. Number two, Democrats need to accept the fact that they've got to stop trying to triangulate. They've got to stop being so centrist. They have to accept the fact that if they can move a little to the left, as I think was seen in this campaign, by moving a little to the left, John, they can pick up the kind of energy, the kind of enthusiasm and excitement that might have made the difference this time around. And for my white liberal friends, let me just say this. I went to a restaurant today to grab a quick salad for lunch before I came to see you all this afternoon. And I had a waitress come to me who I've seen and known for years, a white woman, just in tears. And I can't begin to tell you the number of phone calls from friends and others I've received over the last 48 hours from my white liberal friends who feel this is a catastrophe. Let me just say respectfully that black folk deal with disaster every day. We deal with catastrophe every day. And some of my white liberal elite friends are so used to winning that you lose one election and you feel like the world is closing in on you. I'm upset too. Let me be clear about that. But misery must never have the last word, number one. And for my white liberal friends who are asking me how they explain this to their kids, that's not a real problem. A problem is explaining to your kids why there's no food in the refrigerator, why you can't pay the rent, why you're being evicted once again. That's a real problem. And so I'm upset too, but we got to contextualize this thing, John, I think in the right way.
Tavis, why did Hillary Clinton lose?
There are as many answers to that question as there are people in this country. I believe that the Democrats ran an elitist candidate in a populist election. I think that in part explains it, number one. Number two, you can't take voters for granted. And number three, I think that they relied on this sort of Hail Mary from Barack Obama to suggest to black people that if they didn't vote for Hillary in the waning days, that he would take that as a personal insult. Well, I was insulted by the president making that suggestion, making that remark, as if black folk don't have agency to vote the way they want to vote, even though many of us voted for Hillary Clinton. But I can't also imagine how these 53% of white women who voted for Donald Trump, never mind his misogyny, never mind his patriarchy. Can you imagine, Mark or John, that white women at that level would ever even consider voting for a black man, Barack Obama or anybody else, who had talked about grabbing them down there and tonguing them down after eating some Tic Tacs? There's no way that 53% of white women would ever consider voting for a black man. Here again, racism, sexism, and elitism on display once again.
So, Tavis, you have a prescription for the Democratic Party that you just offered. You said that the other part, another important piece is to acknowledge that Donald Trump is going to be the president, right? So in terms of trying to contain what Democrats see as the potential damage from a Trump presidency, what's the strategy there? How do you go about dealing with Donald Trump in the Oval Office?
The short answer is the Democrats have to get back to representing its base. The Democratic Party, in so many ways, has abandoned its base of working class, everyday people. When you take care of those people, John, they will take care of you. The bottom line is clear, that Hillary's base in so many ways didn't show up in the way that it should have, or they thought it would in certain places. And I just believe you take care of people, they will take care of you. The politics, I suspect, will take care of themselves. And I'm not in a position to offer Democrats in Congress a way to deal with this. I will say this. There are some fights that ain't worth fighting even if you win. But there are other fights you have to fight even if you lose. And so Democrats are going to have to stand on their principle. I was reminded by my friend Tom Friedman just a day or so ago that you can actually dance. I love this from Friedman. You can dance in a hurricane if you stand in the eye. What's the point? You have to stand in your truth. And even with a hurricane swirling around you, if you stand in your truth, you can make some progress.
Tavis, you said that you're glad to see the protests. Would you like to see those continue throughout the Trump administration?
I think Donald Trump's got to be held accountable. It's just fascinating for me how, again, some of my friends who didn't want me to hold Obama accountable 8 years ago are now bum rushing for me and others to hold Donald Trump accountable. Trust me, I'm going to do that, just like I did with Barack Obama, respectfully. But at the end of the day, he's got to be held accountable. You can't run a campaign with the kind of racist, sexist, classist language that Donald Trump used, and then overnight just magically say, and now we must unite. Now we must all come together. There's no apology, Mark. There's no atonement. But now we're just supposed to magically sing Kumbaya, hold hands, and all is well. I don't believe that. I accept his presidency. I look forward to him, I hope, being a better president than I'm believing that he can be. But he must be held accountable all the way through by Democrats and, for that matter, by all the rest of our fellow citizens.
Tavis Smiley, thank you very much.